Hello students, in this video we are going to discuss about the next topic of your chapter, and that is Martin Luther's contribution, and then we'll move forward to the Counter Reformation. So I'll be reading it for you and then we'll explain along with the reading of the passages. In the 16th century, now here we have been told about one of the German clergymen and a professor of theology also. His name is Martin Luther, very renowned personality in the, you can say, entire this Reformation movement and everything. So his 95 theses are some of the important pieces that we have to deal with when we are talking about Reformation. So here we are talking about Martin Luther only, and he was a professor of theology at the University of Wittenberg, and he was the one who openly criticized papacy. That means about the Pope's power and about the wrongdoings of church and Pope itself. He accused church for the sale of indulgences, that how can he sell pardons to the people when he is not the God and he is taking the authority of God by giving out pardons to the people. In 1517, Luther wrote 95 theses, or you can say statements, which were dealing with the difference between the beliefs and practices of the church. What the church or what Christianity believes, the church and the Pope was not practicing those teachings. Rather, they had their own teachings, the way they are benefited and they make the most out of those conditions. They were favoring those things. So that was totally, you can say, a selfish mode of Pope and the priestly class, the papacy, that it was everything that could bring more advantage and honor to them rather than to the teachings of religion, focus on religion of religious teachings and things. Early in 1512, he undertook a pilgrimage to Rome and found that some of the clergymen were living a very luxurious lives, whether they should be the servant of the people, they should be serving the people, but they themselves were the ones who were taking a very luxurious life, enjoying their lives, and it hardly seemed to be a life of an ascetic or as a life of a person who has devoted his life to the Lord. This made him a strong opponent of the church. The Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, upon the request by the Pope, asked Luther to defend his case before the Grand Diet held at Worms, known as the Diet of Worms. The Diet of Worms is no particular eating thing, no particular real Worms. Worms is the place, and Diet is basically, you can say, a jury or a group of all the people in front of him. This particular Martin Luther had to prove his point. Now consisting of council of princes and high dignitaries, this particular diet happened in 1521. The diet ordered that Luther's writing be burned and Luther be outlawed. But Luther had the support of the German ruler, and when the German ruler supported him, and no harm was done to him and his works. So it was the German Luther who was, obviously the rulers were totally against this and they were favoring the Reformation movement. So when they favored him, he was nothing, particular harm was done to him through his works, and he was saved from that particular diet or the decision. This movement soon became to be described as the German Protestant movement, and Luther devoted his time translating the Bible into German and set up an independent church over there. And later onwards, he also traveled to different parts of Europe, that means Germany, Norway, and Sweden, Denmark, to different parts, teaching and preaching the real thing that a person should know from the Christianity rather than what the church and the Pope or the priestly class was doing at that work. The Protestant movement found wide acceptance. The Protestant movement we are talking about, the German Protestant movement, and it is commonly known as the Protestant movement. So there it was commonly known, it was very common and famous all over the places wherever Martin Luther went and spoke about it. Lutheranism was recognized as a legal form of Christianity. Christianity got another division, and this particular division that came out was Lutheranism. That means following the things that Martin Luther had been telling the people. And this was done by a treaty known as the Peace of Augsburg in 1555. So when did this Lutheranism come out? That is 1555. Under what treaty? It is the treaty of it is under the treaty known as the Peace of Augsburg. So you have to remember these dates and names of the treaties and things, and even the person himself. So that is important for you. The division is Lutheranism after Martin Luther. This treaty was signed between Celtic League formed by Luther and the German prince and the Roman Catholic Church. So Roman Catholic accepted that whatever the teachings and things Luther is doing, that is totally a different segment of Christianity, and that is how when this treaty was signed, it was signed between the German and Martin Luther and the German prince, as well as the Roman Catholics. In Germany, the southern states continued to remain loyal to the Catholic Church, whereas the northern states accepted Lutheranism. And that is how in Germany itself, there were two forms of Christianity that were very famous at that time, the Protestants being named as the Lutheranism, and in the southern part, it was still the Roman Catholic Church, which was quite prevalent. Then we talk about the Counter Reformation. Now, when there was a huge Reformation movement being started or being attacking the wrongdoings and the wrong things in the church, in the places where church was lacking, then the church authorities, they decided to stop this Protestant movement or this particular protest against the church and the accusing of various ill things that were happening in the church. So they started reforming it, and this reformation of various things in the church within itself was known as the Reformation Movement. It included some popes, and this was a large number of dedicated Christians, including some popes, introduced these reforms, and these reforms within the church were making it better so that further more accusations could not be raised against the church, and they could rectify those particular problems which were there in the church, and they were being accused of using those particular things for their own selfish benefit and making the church go down in the reputation among the commons. So that is how this particular movement is known as the Counter Reformation Movement. There are other societies which started developing with various particular concepts like the Council of Trent, the Society of Jesus, St. Francis Xavier particular society which was there, but these are not that important. You can just read them through the book, and then you can understand what these things were saying about. So here we start doing about the various societies that started or the things that happened, like the Council of Trent. So under this council, it was a number of changes that were done in the Catholic Church. It expanded its doctrines, and it condemned leading an irresponsible religious life by the clergy. Besides that, many of the books which were against the Catholic teachings were banned, and the Pope was regarded as the head of the Catholic Church. So these were the various changes which took place in the Catholic Church, and they were all because of the Council of Trent. Another important thing we see that during the Reformation movement, there were different religious orders were found. Among them, some of them are mentioned over here, like by the Ignatius Loyola. He was a Spanish loyal and noble, and he started studying about Jesus and Christianity, and then he founded a particular social order, and that was religious order, and that was society by the name Society of Jesus. So he speedily gained recognition as he has got a particular assent or particular, you can say, agree for permission from the Pope also. So he came with that particular theory to different parts of the world, especially to from Europe to Asia and Asian countries in India, China, Africa, and other such parts. He gained popularity. After him, there was another of his follower, and that was, you can say, St. Francis Xavier, who was the follower of Ignatius Loyola. He also started working and preaching the same thing, and he started his work in China, Japan. Later onwards, he came to India also, and in the previous chapter, we have done about St. Francis Assisi, that his remains are still there in the Bomb Jesus at Goa. So a church of Bomb Jesus in Goa. So he kept on working over here, spreading the word of God in different territories of India, and he died over here only. So that is how Reformation made another particular step in the, you can say, establishment of Christianity in a new phase, in a new manner, with many of the reforms, and coming from Europe back to Asia in a reformed manner. So that is how Reformation, we study about the Reformation in Europe, and then gradually coming to India, not India, but to Asian countries. So with this, we come to the end of the topic. Now we will quickly move on to the question answers of this chapter. The question answers are given in my book as per my edition on page number 110. So we'll straight away come to question number 1. What is known as Reformation? As per my book, the answer is on page 107. It says, the first paragraph from the first line. The Reformation is the name given to a group of religious movements of the 16th century, launched by the Christians against the various drawbacks of the church. We'll come down to next line. The main target of these movements was the Pope. So that is answer number 1. Question number 2. What was known as a letter of indulgence? Under this, you will write the answer from page 107 to 108. The last lines of page 107 you will find as Pope Leo X issued, then come to the next line, next page, pardon certificates called indulgences to those who gave money to build the church. Indulgences were letters which remitted punishments of the sinners who bought them for both this life as well as after this death. That is your answer number 2. Question 3. What is known as the Protestant movement? This answer is on page 109. Here you will write, the Diet ordered that, from the heading Martin Luther's contribution. Over here you will see the second paragraph and the fourth line from the bottom of the second paragraph. The Diet ordered that Luther's writings be burned and Luther be outlawed. But Luther had the support of German rulers, and so no harm was done to him. This movement soon came to be described as the German Protestants. Luther devoted his time translating the Bible into German. Next line you will write, Luther traveled extensively to different parts of Europe, Germany. The Protestant movement found wide acceptance. So that is all your answer number 3. Question 4. Why did kings support the Reformation movement? This, as per my book, is on page 108. It is given on the page a particular third point as ruler's resentment, if you remember. So if you can find it, see, in ruler's resentment we will write from the first line. Pope's interference in political affairs was naturally opposed by the kings. They strongly supported the Reformation movement in order to weaken the church's power or church's authority. You can add there. That is your answer number 4. Question 5. Write a short note on Erasmus' contribution to the Reformation movement. Again, we'll move back to page 108, and under the heading Corruption in the Church, here you will see it is 10th line in the paragraph. As per my book, 10th line, it is given, there were fees for every transaction in life from birth to death, fees for peace of the soul and fees for the souls of the people dead long ago. These practices were severely criticized and opposed by the people. Erasmus exposed them in the book named In Prayer of Folly and prepared the ground for the Reformation movement. So that will be your answer number 5. Next is question 6. What role did Henry VIII play in curbing the power of the Pope? Again, page 108 as per my edition. And the same point, ruler's resentment. Over here you will see the third paragraph of this point. That will be your answer. It is, I'll be reading out the passage. Whatever you can find in the line, you can see in the paragraph while I am speaking it out. Please underline only those portions which I read. King Henry VIII of England hardly cared for the Pope. He got the church lands and in 1536 passed an act for the dissolution of monasteries. After that, leave 3 lines and then you will mark, by another act of 1539, larger monasteries were closed. Leave 1 more line, then second line you will mark, the monasteries were the wealthiest institutions in the country. Henry's lavish lifestyle along with his wars had led to lack of money. By destroying the monastic system, Henry could acquire all its wealth. So that is all your answer number 6. Question 7. What was the Counter Reformation? You will mark this answer from the book, page number 110 as per my edition. The heading is Counter Reformation. Over here you will mark from the third line. In order to restore the credibility of the Catholic Church, a large number of dedicated Christians, including some popes, introduced certain reforms within the Church. This movement is known as the Counter Reformation. So that is your answer number 7. With this, we come to the end of the chapter and the question answers. Please work on these question answers, keep them up to date, all your work, so that you are done with the question answers. With the work, you are only left with the revision that you can do anytime, and be prepared for the examinations. Next module or next video, we will be starting with the next chapter of civics, that is chapter number 6, the last chapter, and it is the second part of the local self-government. We have done about rural, now we will be doing about the urban sector. So be prepared for that and do complete your work in this particular chapter. With this, we come to the end of the module. Have a great day.